enough to let the light in. The way you're making me feel it's divine. It's enough to let it flow, let it be.